Hello, welcome to the Solstice Flow, where we're going to light your fires inside to give you more energy throughout your day. So I hope you are ready for this practice where you can find some Kundalini magic of breath and harmony. So we're going to start in our seat, and I want you to feel supported. I want you to feel grounded for wherever you land. And when you're ready, close your eyes and notice the balance between your inhales and your exhales. See if you can equal them out. Make the inhale equal to your exhale. And notice where it channels, where it goes, with no judgment, just observation. Is it challenging to equal out that harmony of breath sensation on the inhale and breath sensation on the exhale? Maybe honor even more length of your spine as you broaden the heart space. Maybe equaling out how we expand into the spaces between the ribs. From right to left side, you have 12 pairs of ribs. See if you can equal that breath sensation there. Equal in the inhale as well as the exhale. Maybe equaling that breath sensation from the sternum or the heart space into your spine. So breathing front to back. See if you can even the inhale and the exhales there. Take your time. No forcing, just observation. And then take a magnificent breath from front to back, to sides, to top to bottom. Think of your breath as the shape of Earth, the shape of our magnificent planet as it spins around the sun. See if you can equal each of those edges, those rounding edges, and always come back to that heart space, always coming back to that interesting phenomenon of that belly. Bring in the hands to the heart space, maybe warming up the hands. How did that feel in your body to break down that breath? Maybe stretching the fingers, separating the fingers, stimulating the flesh of the forearm, the elbow, the shoulder, and then add that palm to flip and hitching a ride back with the thumb, using the heel of the hand to open up the tissue, and then maybe take a pause, maybe using your opposite hand to balance your shoulders to float over your hips, landing the hand, adding that reach, getting that balance as much as you're gripping and using the fingertips to tent, seeing if you can create that tensional integrity from the ground all the way up to the fingers. And then feel that float of both arms to be invited out to your sides, and closing your eyes, sensing how the elbows can float in harmony into the side body. Taking breath, bringing the pinkies to come to the centers, hands pressed to the heart. 3-dimensional breath. Equal it out. Stimulating the hands. Stretching the fingers back. Opening up the palm. Making a count. See if you're even from your ribs to wrap as you open it up. Maybe more stimulating to the flesh. What happens when we're not feeling equal and even? Just some touch sensation can change that. Gripping all 5 fingers as I reach, keeping the broadening of the collar to open. Feel that equalness of reach as much as rooting into the palm and rooting into the fingertips. And then as our arms reach away, can you feel the center balancing out to absorb the freedom of our arms to reach, and maybe closing the eyes, bending at the elbows, floating the elbows a little bit more forward from the hips. Pinkies come to touch. See if your proprioception can get those pinkies to touch. Hands plant to the heart space, lengthening up your spine. Maybe hooking the thumbs, feeling your sitting bones, finding that balance into the sitting bones and feeling the reach equally above the head, feeling that breath and sensation. Eye gaze looks up. See if you can feel the core here and maybe get a little neuro quiver. We're hanging and holding with breath and core connection. Finding that balance each and every time you reach. Palms float together, hands in front of the heart space. Each and every time you reach, your body in the center is grabbing on to save the day. So you have this constant connection and support and protection in your body at all times. So we're going to use some of these concepts in an amazing magical flow. Let's come to the top of your mat. Tadasana. And as you just close your eyes, notice the balance of those footprints and the crown. Opposing directions, but do they feel equal? Can you sense your ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over knees, knees over ankles, from right to left, and everything in between? 3-dimensional breath, opening up the ribs, back, front, top, bottoms. I'm going to slide my hands, Utkatasana, keeping the collarbones equally open, maybe even squeezing my shoulder blades to kiss the spine. Arms reach out. See if you can open up those fingers. And then glide those hands to the heart space. Use that feedback from the thumbs to let the heart lift you up back into Tadasana. Relaxing those hands. Taking a breath. Sensing that breath. Always finding your center. So we're equal and supportive to our body. Using the hands on top of the thighs, thighs into your hands, bending gently into the knees, finding your Utkatasana, And see if you can keep this energy into the shoulders as you reach. Maybe feeling a little neuro quiver, not rounding into the back. And see if you could bring the hands to float into that heart space, keeping everything equal and level. Put more energy into the feet as you take out the bend of the knees. Maybe this time hooking the thumbs out in that reach overhead. Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is, give it a nice stretch, bending at the elbows, this time folding forward, hands plant to the blocks or maybe to your mat, left foot steps back. And let's give some balance to 90 degree lunge as we push the heel energetically away in the right foot. The bull mound presses equally away in the back. And then see if you can float up the palms to look up at the ceiling. And using the thumbs to hitch a ride. Feeling that balance of the hip rolling under. And then feeling that balance as the hip rolls back. Take a bow. Hands plant. Stepping that right foot back into plank. Dropping the knees and the top of the toes. Wrapping those triceps. And seeing if you can lower down. Letting the heart lead the way. Baby cobra. Feeling that delicious stretch sensation in your back. As well as keeping the heart space open. Toes tuck under. Hips lift up. Down dog. How is your down dog feeling today as you just pedal out the footprints and feeling equal synergy from the ball mound up into the lateral hip, the outer hip. Left foot lifts. Bend the knee, open up the hip. Can you keep equal synergy of the handprints as you open up the hip? And then rebend the knees, especially the bottom one. And as you grow, can you open up the hip? Keeping equalness into the fingerprints. And then rebend one more time, adding that extension, three-legged dog. Bend the knee, open up the hip, but keep equal fingerprints to plant. Rebend that knee, rebalance that hip, looking ahead, maybe floating your hands on blocks and keeping active synergy into the floor as that left foot steps forward, finding your low lunge and using the arms to reach. Feel the hips balance as you roll it under. And as you roll it back, anterior tilt or tipping those hip points a little bit more forward. Heart stays open, both hands plant. Stepping that right foot to meet the left. Utkatasana, hands press into the thighs, thighs press into the hands. And then using that lift, hooking those thumbs, reaching tall. Good morning, good evening stretch. And closing the eyes, do both of those hands open up equally. Can use protraction into the shoulders. Fold forward, both hands plant, right foot steps back. Drop the back knee, but keep active in your footprints. Opening up, lengthening your spine. See if you can create some really magnificent timing in your hips, in your spine, in your arms. Feel those hips tilt back each and every time you move your heaviest portions of your body, your hips and your spine. Everything is that yin and that yang, dropping the knees and the top of the toes. Heart leads the way. Let's find baby cobra. Keep wrapping those elbows equally. See if you can keep evenness in those collarbones to stay open. Toes tuck under, hips lift up, down dog. Maybe planting the hands on blocks to give it some equalness. Pedal out the footprints. Shoulders are down the back, lifting the right leg, bend the knee, open up the hip. Do we have balance in both those handprints? And we may be bending at the knees. Keep those triceps wrapping. And then adding a three-dimensional. It is three-dimensional, but three downward dog, three-legged. And rebalance that hip point, looking ahead, keeping that balance. Right foot steps forward, but both feet are equal in its energy into the floor. As you lift, should feel good to open up those spaces. And stepping that left foot to the front of our mat. Utkatasana. Hands plant to the top of the thighs touch to the hands to the thighs. Find your Tadasana here. As you stand and close your eyes, do you feel equal and level? Notice your feet. Do they feel imprinted into the floor? Equal and level to the opposite? If they don't worry about it. We'll get those footprints to feel equal too. I'm going to pedal out the feet. And I want you to keep the right heel lifted. And let's see if we can go into airplane. Heart leads the way. So as I go back, my hips are a little bit more perky. And then adding that reach of the arms. Maybe corkscrewing those arm bones into the pockets to lift me up. I'm going to float the knee in and see if we can go opposite to opposite and get a little balance as you use that opposition. Heel is slack to broaden even more of the collarbones to open. And then when you're ready, letting the sternum lead the way. As you add rotation to the torso, you can always keep the ball mound down or the foot on the floor, but find some balance. Don't be afraid to allow the ankle to feel the fun. Keeping tall, keeping length in your spine, and then stepping back into warrior one. Gripping those arches, dome in the arches, coming forward. Feel that difference, feeling maybe a stretch sensation into your hip, but balance it out. Put more information into the heel. Maybe Dorothy clicking it open, but keeping the ball mound and the big toe active. Devotional warrior. Pressing those footprints equally. A lot of work into the hamstring, lifting on up. Warrior one. Feet are on two separate planes. Hands pressed to the heart. Adding that reach overhead and opening. Going back into devotional warrior. Into warrior three, or maybe like a twisted warrior. And notice where your tail is. Keep it active and hand plants to the sternum. See if you can revolve the sternum to angle slightly without dropping that right hip point, adding that reach. Flexing at the ankles helps too. Bending at the knee. And we're going to plant the knee behind the left and find your seat, maybe sitting on a block. Both sitting bones are connected. And maybe sliding off to the front of your block so you're even more spacious in your hips. Hands plant. Find that balance. Find your breath, three-dimensional breath, floating the collarbones. Maybe expanding equally into the ribs. In the spine, finding that space. And then adding rotation. Left hand plants, adding that reach to the back of your mat. And see if you can get even more space in those hips to open as the heart lifts, reaches forward. So it's like really on top of each other is what that harmony is so needed in our bodies. Maybe a little side bend, helping that left sit bone to connect even deeper. And then bend at the elbow. Give us some feedback of the head to be heavy and the hands gravitate those shoulders down the back of the body, but keeping the shoulder blade active. Serratus needs to come to the rescue, maybe some determination as you open it up. It should feel amazing to get those hips to open. We're going to float onto our bellies, finding space. Forearms down, and just create some space needed into that heart for breath, for love, for gratitude, whatever it is that you need more of to balance your life. Invite it in. Bending at the left knee, looking right, and switching. Ebb and flow, balancing both to make it happen. What do you need more of? Maybe we need more flight. Take that breath, see if you can float it into locust. And maybe if bow is in your practice, feel that balance as much as I'm putting integrity of my hands into my insteps. My heart is reaching towards you. Using that breath, coming out of it without slingshotting. Hands plant, toes tuck under, hips lift up. Pressing down, down dog. Looking ahead, pushing into the ball mounds of the foot. Let the heart lead the way as you hop it or walk it to the top of your mat. Dance break. Maybe we need a little dance in our life. To shake it out, to move it out. Just a little movement changes the way we see things. Embracing life. Tadasana. Hands plant to the heart space. We're gonna lift up those heels, pedal it out. Let's keep that left hip heel lifted, but the hips are back, not hiking. And we're gonna float into airplane. And as the hips move back, notice that balance of the heart space moving forward. Add that energy. Airplane. And as we come back up, press So with the band into the ball mound and the heel, keeping the arches domed. Float at that knee. Notice where that sternum is. Maybe get it even more lifted as you start rotation and stability. Winds all. We didn't have gravity in our planet of Earth. That would never be a good thing. So we need to have that ground first before we take flight. And we're coming back. Hips are getting a little perky. Warrior one. Interlace those fingers. Dome the arches here. Maybe even bending at the knee if you're feeling like your hips are staying in that tucked position. See if you can use more of your heels to open up those hips. Let's try that again. Doming the arches, really gripping the toes, the balls of your feet towards the heels. Opening it up. And coming back. So good to get those little quivers in those holds. Anytime you feel that, linger a little longer in it. Heart leads away, hips are going back. I'm gonna give me a little drizzy balance, twisted warrior. Maybe bending the knee, making sure that glute is firing in equal level. Use your hands. Anytime you're not too sure, maybe wandering, pedaling at the elbows this time, seeing if your elbows feel communication into the armpits. And then on landing, knee is going to be behind, left knee behind the right. Balance it out. Flexing at the ankles, kind of get everything to integrate into your center. Open up that heart. What are your heart's desires to make life that much sweeter, that much better? Where do you need more wandering? Make it happen. Get the heart space to be more invited forward and the hips to be more invited back. Feel a different stress sensation in there. So good. Do what gives you joy. Do you feel your core? And we're going to float onto your bellies. Moving from Sphinx. Get those elbows to get down and dirty, to feel that armpit strength that you have. And using that breath to meet it in the center. Floating into locust. And maybe into bow. Bow is in your practice. It's that timing of equalness, getting the butt to lift, and then to reach to grab on. All too often, we grab one separately, but trying to find that balance of timing in both. Using breath, Both hands plant, gripping all 10 fingers to pull the chest through. Pressing down to lift up. Child's pose, big toes together, knees grow wide. And just wander to the left, wander to the right. Make it good. Make it feel all so nice. Sweeping it. Do you have that wave in the back of your body to move you to the right, to move you to the left? Can you break it down? Quadruped. And corkscrew those arm bones. And if you were to close your eyes, do you feel as though you have your shoulders gravitating over your knees, or hips, I should say, and hips under over shoulders in a horizontal position? And we're gonna keep our cow and get even more communication by just using that gription of the fingertips into our bellies. Do you feel that? And hug the knees, sensing core. And we're gonna bend at the knees and frog leg. And then rebend coming into cow. Trying it again, all core happening, hover the knees. And then opening up the knees, angle the knees ever so slightly, and maybe lifting up. And one more time, rebending, and then swinging them in, but the hips still stay out. Quadruped, land those knees. Find even a deeper cow as you being active in your footprints as well as your handprints. And hovering the knees. Core is talking back. Do you feel that? Widen the knees. And then we're going to walk those hands. I'm going to widen my footprints and walking to the back of my mat. Maybe I'm landing on using a wall, which is pretty good, pretty nifty. And I'm energizing my knees to reach and working in the inner thigh. Find that malasana. Can we find that balance with the shoulders over hips here? A lot more challenging. And then reaching those knees, pulling the heels energetically away as I come up to a standing position, keeping shoulders over the hips, hooking those thumbs, adding that reach sensation, bending at the elbows. Elbows come a little bit more narrower in front of the hips. And I'm going to pedal out my heels, keeping my right heel lifted, closing my eyes, finding that balance, seeing if you can balance from right to left, left to right. I'm not using my quad muscle, I'm using my lowest belly muscles. Opening up the heart space, even more so. So if you're having challenge with this, start with the ball mound down. We're moving into eagle, right leg over, right arm under. But see if you can, again, not round, but like an elevator, lowering your body so your shoulders are over your hips. We're going to uncross the eagle leg and seeing I need to move a little forward, and then moving to angle, but flexing at the ankle, and then opening into a hovered half moon. And then invite the shoulders to your spine here. And then finally, lower your half moon if you're lucky enough to have a block. And then find equal balance between the hand gripping and the arm reaching. Should feel oh so awesome. Maybe bending at the top knee, making whatever feels desirable in your body, maybe a reach. Bending the knee. And then see if you can get your hips to get perky here. So you're ready, your foundation is set into that warrior two. Reaching out and maybe coming into a back of your mat, side angle. Going into warrior two. And then side angle to the back of your mat. Hips are open. One more time, warrior two. Keeping the neck out of it. And then as we reverse it, turn it into a side angle. And then all the way around, come into your seat. Is it easier than the first time? Maybe pedaling at those hands. Find those delicious reaches each and every time. I'm going to ask you to slither onto your backs this time. I'm going to be more towards you so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going into fish pose. And as we extend those legs and open up the heart space, you feel a little core happening into fish. And then see if you can bend your elbows, but gripping all 10 fingers to let your heart space open here. And try that again. Use that chest to broaden. Heart space lifts. Gription of those fingers to open up the space of your heart. And then finally lowering down. I'm going to use my hands underneath the back of my body. Taking in amazing breath and lovely sensation. See if you can lift the chest. And feeling your breath into your core. Balance it out, maybe hovering the heels, pointing the toes. And releasing. Oh, so good. Roll it on to your bellies. Sorry, Chow. Excuse your little hiney, honey. I need this space. I need this space. Excuse me. Find your Sphinx. Bending at the knee. Looking from right to left. Balancing it out. Floating into locust. Bending your knees. See if you can find your bow equally around the ankles. Make them magical. Hands plant. Hips lift up. So you're using those natural curves in your spine. Quadruped, you're really challenging me today. Cow. And tucking the toes under. See if you can hover the knees and get the knees to externally rotate or fan out. And then welcome your cow. Finding that balance. Finding that breath. Try it again. Hover the knees. Fanning it out. Maybe landing those heels and hold your malasana with a wide angle. So you're in a deep squat. If these deep squats are not right for your balance and your body, make it a little higher. You can do this standing as you energetically reach those heels away. And see if you can come into Malasana. I love the touch of the back of my arms to use opposition against the back of my triceps. And then reaching those knees. Doesn't look like much, but that packs a punch. How did that reach? Lengthening it. Bending at the elbows, determination, staying balanced for a lifetime, whether it's a physical level, neurological level. Pedaling out the footprints. And this time, no, it's this one. I was like, all right, we did that enough, ready? So left leg over. And as you use the ball mound of the footprint, hips swivel back. Feel that. And then the left arm under, right arm on, and we're broadening into your eagle. Nest your eagle, but keep the roundness out today. See if you can maintain the shoulders over the hips and getting that nice slurp of spine length. And we're going to uncross the eagle legs and find a little opening on a diagonal. Woo. And then hover that half moon. Flexing at the ankle definitely helps. Lengthening your spine actually helps get a little bit more of the stabilizing entities working. Uncrossing those eagle arms, half moon. Once I can feel the ground, I can get more imprint of my center to work. Just feels good. Do what creates that balance, that creates that heat in your body. And I'm going to start bending my front knee, landing into warrior two. Don't forget to breathe. And reversing side, back of the mat, side angle. You are so cute. Good girl. Warrior two. Balancing it all out. And then as I reverse it, side angle to the back of your mat. Keeping that heart space open. And anytime you can corkscrew those arm bones, those leg bones, do it. Warrior two. Reverse it and then slide right into back of your mat, side angle. And we're coming all the way around to slither back onto the floor. Butt lands, knees behind. Flexing at the ankles really seals the deal and getting everything to connect. Pedal out those hands. Maybe float. See as much energy into the bottom. You can feel that grabbing from the top. And then as you lift up and unload, the center grabs on to save the day. Switching sides. And then as you lift on up, does your center take over? Beautiful breath. One more. Adding rotation. Hips are stable. Reach in. Moving, balance of mobility of your ribs. We lose that mobility of our ribs because it's not grabbing on to save the day in our core. So how do we figure out how to keep motion in there, keep breath in there? Sometimes if we're not using our ribs to breathe, they stiffen up. So make sure you're balancing out that side body, creating that heat. As I wrap my chest opens, maybe floating into a boat, but getting the heart to lead the way. It doesn't look like much, but it packs a punch. Gonna do a little different. I want you to bring into Buddha Konasana. I want you to use the hands to remind us not to be here, but to be here with that balance. And then maybe holding, feeling the center, and then going back into that VC. Shoulders over hips. Let that neural quiver lead the way. And then as we lift, can we get this magic of that belly button to help create movement to lift us up? So good, so amazing. Playing with your Baddha Konasana. Playing with your shoulders over the hips. Energetically reaching those knees. And then maybe this time as we go into that VC, we're finding our Savasana. Breathe it out. What does your body feel in its balance? I'm going to ask if you could use your half roller or your full roller. I love the melt ones. I'm going to rebalance into having our spine supported. We're on the absolute end of that half roller, and if you were to open up the heart space, just notice what your footprints naturally do or don't want to naturally do. Hopefully they're pushing away energetically, and see if you can float those arms up, and maybe guiding the fingertips, but see if you can balance. Easier said than done. Maybe lifting on up, coming back, and trying that again. So the idea here, I'm going to use my fingertips for this, is when my bra line hits, then my hips can just relax and release and let go. 3 times the charm. I want you to pull everything into midline like we were into fish pose, maybe extending those legs. And see if you can balance by going into a full roll up, half roll up. If you're against a wall, that gives you those grounding reflexes that you need to make that timing happen. And see if you can just isolate the movement of your hips to tuck and tilt here, rolling the tail under, rolling the tail back. And then see if you can use the feedback. There it is. As I land, it just transfers that balance of your upper back. So did you see that? It just gets better and better. Our bodies are brilliant, and we need to use our biointelligence to challenge those balancing of hips and shoulders. So closing your eyes, maybe gliding from side to side. Notice what your neck and your head naturally do. And I'm going to bring my feet to parallel. And if you're not too sure if they're parallel, put the ball mounds of your big toes together. And then Charlie Chaplin, meaning the pivot on the ball of the foot, opening up the heel, and then floating the top of your foot, the ball mounds, to now gently be over, or naturally be over your heel. And see if you can isolate the movement of your hips here, and isolating just the hips, but not anything else in your body. If you're feeling like your shoulders want to get involved, put more energy into your forearms. Put more energy of those elbows to grab onto save the day. Keeping healthy low back space. I want you to float those arms up and move into the wrists. And then open up the fingers. See if you can slurp the arm bones deeper into the shoulders by opening up the heart space here. And then closing your eyes, seeing if you can bring the elbows in higher than the hips. And then maybe gravitate pinkies to touch. Do they want to touch? Maybe to each other, maybe to the top of your thighs. While keeping the heart space open. And give it a good morning stretch here. Make it feel yummy. Maybe bending at the elbow, side bending into the ribs. Letting your head naturally move and sync with your hips. I'm going to look away, reaching at the end, and then using the hand to coax the tissue open here as I gently glide on off, or if that's not available, keep your hand where your palm is facing up. Do what gives you most balance. I'm going to release my hand, looking towards you, keeping the heart space open, and it works always better when you're floating these two entities over each other. And maybe this time we're bending at the elbows and hovering both feet to lift, maybe one foot to lift. Let's see if you can stay out of those hip flexors and just get the belly to find its balance. And then I'm going to roll, tail tucks under, staying out of the shoulders. Maybe extending the legs, but sending the hips down, but the heels up, finding that balance here, finding Buddha Konasana, bending at the knees, opening up the hip, seeing if you can naturally lift up the low back space here. Maybe landing one foot, maybe landing both, holding Buddha Konasana, working with breath, and then gently sliding off your roller and notice your Savasana. Savor the Savasanas each and every day. Savor your rest, savor the renewal. Feeling incredibly balanced. Stay here as long as you're able. Breaking down your breath, breaking down the ribs to open. Both sides, right side, left side. Front and back of your breath, that three-dimensional breath. Rising from the heart space, getting that breath truly saturated into all the spaces between the discs of your vertebra, top and bottom, savoring it, nurturing it, giving it love. These are the moments that are made maybe feeling that equalness of inhale and exhale, but both are even longer than when you started. Sensing your breath like a waterfall. Such power of energy in a waterfall. Breathing, that exhale. Feel the power of your breath. That balance of life force that your breath can give you for your body to renew, to reestablish its center of connection. Feeling even more energy into the fingers and the toes as you start wiggling them, rounding the ankles, rounding the wrists. Maybe even bending at your elbows and your knees, whether you decide to give yourself a big hug or reaching those arms high and your legs low, doing what gives you balance and joy. Always coming off to your side, take those pauses. That's a balance too, taking those pauses from the busyness of our day, of our week. And when you're able, come to your most comfortable seat. Hands plant to the heart. Breathing in, holding at the top, open the mouth, let that breath go. Breathing it out, making it deep, keeping all those amazing things that make a wonderful you that are already there, to always stay steady, but growth and new opportunities, let your journey of life take you to those places too, to make life even more happy and desirable, to wake up every day and wanting to learn, wanting to explore, wanting to give you more joy in your life. Thank you for being kind to all beings, and especially yourselves. Namaste. Happy solstice. Find that balance.